Ah, shit. This episode of Defective Discourse has been brought to you by our patrons. Here at BRG, we'd like to thank those patrons who have subscribed and donated. It is because of generosity like yours that makes this show possible.
Defective Discourse. Welcome to the show where we talk about the topics that matter to you. Video games, media, technology, all starting now.
Hello, everyone. All right, welcome. This Tuesday, October 7th. Wow.
You're only about a week off.
I am only about a week off. Welcome, everybody. Tuesday, October 2nd, and we are back for another installment of Defective Discourse, guys. Defective Discourse, and you'll notice below me, we have Component Z as usual.
Hi, guys.
And as a guest today, we have Dez from Dez and Fox Plays on YouTube. Hey, Dez,
Hey,
how
guys.
you doing? Good to see you again. Thanks for
Yeah, good to
coming,
be
man.
here
I
again.
really appreciate it.
My pleasure. I always love being here.
Awesome, good stuff. So, what is Defective Discourse? For those of you who have been here before, you know it's just a bunch of guys getting together and talking about news. Usually the best or the biggest news that came out in the past month kind of thing. But we'll talk about technology, video games, different things like that. And so tonight we have a topic that we all kind of felt was a big deal. And so we decided it made sense to speak about it. We want to talk. Okay, I'm going to just say it. You can see it in the logo over. Or yeah, we're going to talk about Telltale Games and you know what transpired. I think it's about a week ago, maybe a little less than a week ago now. And then if we have some time, we might talk about a different topic, and we'll see. We'll go into that later. But yeah. Guys, what do you guys think? Like, before we get into
this hurts my heart. This hurts my heart.
Yeah.
Oh, man, I don't know what to say because okay, so I'll before I get into any of the, because I went through some articles online. So what I'm going to reference are things that I've seen already that I'm sure other people have read and gone through. But I also want to get tidbits from each and every one of us here. And I'll start off with mine. I'll tell you where Telltale going out of business, Telltale Games. Okay, actually, before we do that, I think I will cover the first, because there may be some viewers out there who watch this later when we post it on YouTube, or maybe in the chat right now, who don't know who Telltale Games are, but they are a game developer, okay? And what I'm basically saying is right off the Wikipedia, if you go in online and search for them, they basically formed as a group, as a developer or a company in October of 2004. So actually October 4th was their start date. So almost, it's like kind of eerie that we're almost airing this on.
Yeah, almost
the anniversary.
Yeah, almost 14 years to the day.
Yeah, crazy. So they started off as people who broke away from LucasArts. So some of you out there may know, like I used to play, what the hell was it? Secret of Monkey Island, I think was LucasArts.
Yes.
And I loved that game to death. And it was one of those 8-bit side view scrolling things where you'd have items in your inventory, and you would walk up to a puzzle and you would try item one. It says, nope, that doesn't seem to do anything. Then you try the next one. Nope, that doesn't seem to do anything. And
Kind
you
of
keep
a point
going.
and click adventure.
Point and click adventure, exactly.
Yeah.
So,
but to be fair, at least Monkey Island, of the point and click adventures, and Sam and Max as well, they didn't take themselves too seriously. They had some great jokes. Great jokes built into them.
So to keep the introduction of who Telltale Games is a little short, before I kind of talk about how it affects me, is that it was 3 guys that kind of broke away from LucasArts. Kevin Bruner, I can't even say his name, Dan Connors and Troy Molander, and they established Telltale Games. And they carried on with the tradition of point-and-click type adventure games, because this was when LucasArts kind of basically said, that's it, we're done with them, we're not making them anymore, right? So there's more in here. In fact, I'm going to list off a few games that Telltale Games are responsible for, but I'm going to talk about where it affects me most, because I haven't really played any of their games. As some of you out there know, I stream on my own channel. I haven't streamed in a little bit, but I'll be getting back into that. And I would watch other streamers stream, and Hamnisu, also part of Bottle Rocket Gaming, streams the Walking Dead series that's from Telltale Games, and that's pretty much the game that, cemented them as the point-and-click action adventure type game, where you get to pick your own adventure in a way.
See,
oh, okay, yeah, go ahead.
I would say it's the Wolf Among Us.
Really? Because when I was reading on the thing, it said the breakout game was in 2012, which was The Walking Dead, and I tend to agree with that, because Wolf Among Us came out after.
Right. Yeah,
Right?
I'd agree. The Walking Dead, like when the first couple seasons came out and the huge stuff, but you kind of had to be a Walking Dead fan,
Yes.
and Walking Dead to really, really be excited about that. I think Wolf Among Us were their second hit, which really cemented them in the lives of gamers. So having both of them be there was kind of a big deal.
So, well, to me, the thing was, I never played their games, but I would always watch Hamnisu play. And to me, it was like catching my show. I had the popcorn and just sit there and watch him stream it and watch the really gut-wrenching decisions that they put you through as developers in the storyline.
Oh,
right?
It's rough, man.
It was.
Hey, Karak, I'm gonna own up to a mistake.
What? What's up?
I may have forgotten to hit start recording.
Well,
Hey, we're streaming,
So
right?
we're streaming, but we're not recording.
Well, no, you know what? It's all good. Twitch does that record thing. I can grab it from there.
All right.
Yeah.
Twitch does it all for us.
Yeah. So what about them? That's what impacts me most. It's funny. I'm not actually one playing their games, so it doesn't impact me directly. But I'm one who enjoys watching their games being played, and it impacts me that way. How about you guys?
Well, for me, Telltale Games was always unique in that their entire goal was right there in their name. It was to tell a story. The mechanics or the how fast the response time or whatever else, that wasn't really important to them, or even graphical capability or anything like that wasn't really important to them. It all came down to what beautiful, intense story can we tell, and they always did such a good job of moral neutrality and having you make really difficult decisions and deciding okay, what's the positive and negatives? Where do I want to go with this? How do I want to land this? And so many games fall flat on that. There's so much stark morality systems in video gaming these days, and there's so much focus on gameplay, and rightly so in a lot of ways, of course. But for a company to come out and say, we don't give a crap about any of that, our goal is to tell an incredible story, and that's it. I loved them for that, and they did a great job with it. They really did.
That's awesome. How about you, CZ?
Well, playing wise, I've always been a big fan of the Back to the Future games. They're a lot of fun to play. They, even though they don't have Michael J. Fox in them as Marty McFly, the person they got to voice him just embodies him. I do believe the last episode of Back to the Future did have Marty McFly. Wow, I'm talking
background Christopher Lloyd.
Well, no, it had my brain
Michael
just
J.
went.
Fox?
Thank you. My brain just went completely.
There it is. Okay.
Had Michael J. Fox come back as one and voice a character for it, so I thought that was a great touch. But as far as watching, I actually haven't played the Wolf Among Us. I've watched a couple of people play it. It's a great story, but unfortunately, I don't get to see the end of it because it's a canceled project.
Well, we'll get a little when we go further down. We'll get into that. I'm gonna carry on a little bit of what I saw here on Wikipedia. It did say they established themselves with IPs such as Sam and Max, Wallace and Gromit, Homestar Runner. I never heard of Homestar Runner, but Des here earlier when we were talking.
I love Homestar Runner so much. I had no idea they did anything with Homestar Runner. And so I'm going to be looking up right away. In fact, I'm going to do it right now. I have the internet's open right here.
And it's funny because Sam and Max and Wallace and Gromit, I've heard those names thrown around, but I've never actually seen anything of them, so not familiar with them myself. But
I had no idea. It's called Strong Bad's Cool Game for Attractive People. That's what it is. And I love it. I need to play this game now. I had no idea this existed.
I am absolutely down with that. That is a great title.
So there's actually, it's funny, you were talking about Back to the Future. They say in 2010 they basically landed mainstream franchises such as Back to the Future and Jurassic Park. And then, of course, I mentioned earlier their breakout game was The Walking Dead in 2012. But to kind of give you guys, like, when I think Telltale, I remember a lot of these games that I'm about to list off, and these are just some of the games that were there, not all of them. And I think to myself, I cannot believe that this has happened. So Sam and Max Save the World is one. CSI Hard Evidence, Wallace and Gromit's Grand Adventure, Tales of Monkey Island. They did a redo or a remake of that at one point.
Yeah.
CSI Deadly Intent, Back to the Future games, Jurassic Park, the game, Law and Order Legacies, The Walking Dead, The Wolf Among Us, Tales from the Borderlands. They did that too. Remember that?
Oh.
Game
if
of
you ever
Thrones.
go online and you find a YouTube video or somebody shares a YouTube video of like an entire huge crowd of people doing an air gun shootout, and they all have like air bazookas and air grenades and whatnot, that's Tales from the Borderlands, and it's hilarious.
They did a Minecraft story mode too, which I watched. Who did I watch? Probably Good. I think it was Good playing through or something like that. Batman, the Telltale series, and Guardians of the Galaxy Telltale series. And there's a ton more that I didn't even bother putting on the list.
Another fun game that they did. Was Puzzle Agent and Puzzle Agent 2.
Okay, I've never heard of those.
I have not heard of these either.
They're a fun game. Again, they don't take themselves seriously, which is important for these games. But it's, if you like, good thinking puzzles, they're fun games.
So speaking of the Monkey Island games, you guys want to hear like one of my age-old shames, like just something that I am totally embarrassed about forever? So Fox and I,
it'll be just between the three of us.
Yeah, nobody will ever know about this.
Yeah, it's not like it's going to be on the internet.
It is already anyway, which is shame to me. But Fox and I had the like unique, incredible pleasure at PAX 2017 to meet Ron Gilbert, the creator of all the Monkey Island games. He's just the brain behind all of them.
Okay.
Just before that, I had demoed a game that reminded me of Super Monkey Ball. I don't know if you guys ever played Super Monkey Ball, but it was a lot of fun. And so I said the phrase Super Monkey Ball a lot. Then I went and I interviewed Ron Gilbert, and I talked to him, and I said Super Monkey Island about 6 times before Ron Gilbert had to correct me on the name of his own game and say Secret of Monkey Island, and I felt the worst.
Oh my god.
Ron Gilbert himself had to correct me on the name of his game.
So sorry.
That's on YouTube right now. You can actually go watch me interview Ron Gilbert and get corrected. I felt like such a toolbox.
Oh man. So I'm gonna continue on with. There was an article from Kotaku. There's a couple that I have here, and it's basically the article is like Telltale employees left stunned by company closure and no severance apparently. Now, I don't know if that's changed or not, but basically at the time of this article, that's what it was. And so there was a staff-wide meeting that was held by the CEO Pete Halley, Hawley, Hawley, Hawley.
I think it'd be Howley.
Howley. Okay, and apparently HR was present there and added a blow to the announcement saying that there was no severance in the closure. Basically, he announced the closure. It was like a meeting that they didn't, it was just called and they weren't expecting or anything. And in the end, what ended up happening is they ended up, I think it was over 200 employees got let go, and they held on to a crew of about 24 people, so 25 people, to kind of tie up the projects currently on the go, and not all of them, but some of them, which really sucks. There were a few tweets after this happened that were sent out by some of the employees. Now, I haven't put any names in or anything, or actually, no, is it there? No, it's there. So I'll read it. It says, none of my sleepless nights or long hours on weekends trying to ship a game on time got me severance today. And it was from a former Telltale character artist. I won't say the name. Don't work overtime. He goes on saying, don't work overtime unless you're paid for it, y'all. Protect your health. Companies don't care about you. So it was you could tell just from those words that it was really shocking to have that happen, especially when they felt like they were pouring their soul into what they were making.
Yeah.
It's heartbreaking because in a situation like that, I've actually been on both sides of employment where I was a store manager at GameStop for a while, so I did a lot of like hiring and overseeing employees. And then of course I've been an employee at a lot of places. And like I understand in situations like this, as managers, a lot of times we really do care about our employees. We want what's best for them. I would very much think that at Telltale Games, they were like, we'd love to pay you guys severance, but we don't have any money. Like, it's not that you don't deserve it or that you didn't earn it. We don't have money to give you.
Right.
And that sucks. And it really does suck because you know what? These people deserve it. They earned it. They worked their tail ends off trying so hard to build these beautiful games and do such a great job with them. And the organization as a whole got in over their head with IPs and payments they had to pay out with. And at the end of the day, they had to shut the doors, but they probably owed more money than they had. And when you owe that much money, you can't pay severance. And it just sucks.
We'll touch upon it a little later, but it's kind of like you feel really bad for the employees, and then here we are as fans of the genre of games that they made, and think to ourselves, "Oh my God, am I never going to finish playing that game now?" It's a double-edged sword. It affects more than just the employees, but probably the employees most, I think, hard. Right?
Yeah.
Another quote was, all I want right now is to rest for a couple of days, but since we got no severance and our insurance expires at the end of the month, I don't have that luxury. So they were like, there's insurance through work. Like I have insurance through work and I use it all the time. And if it wasn't there, it would make life a heck of a lot harder.
And I'll say this, I don't have insurance through my work, and having to just apply for it and get it like first party just on my own, it is an incredible hassle. And instead of just filling out some forms for your job, it is so difficult to do. And so again, it breaks your heart for these guys because again, Telltale Games wasn't a huge studio. They're not EA. They're not a publisher that has money raining from the heavens. They were still a smaller studio, or maybe a mid-sized studio, and I highly doubt they have some sort of, bigwig that's sitting on all their money, twiddling his fingers saying, "Mwahaha, I get to keep all this money." Like, I don't know, but I would guess that he would love to keep giving them their insurance, and he'd love to, or she or whomever would love to help them out or give them severance or whatever else, but sometimes you just can't, and it really, really sucks.
Yeah. Really stinks, man. Like, I feel terrible even talking about it, but it just sucks. It sucks for them, unfortunately. One of the questions I was thinking, in fact, I think I wrote it down further down somewhere, is what about the 25 or half 24 people that they have kept behind? How would they feel? You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, people
you worked with for probably years, all of a sudden they're gone, but no, I still get to be here, but who knows for how much longer? That's another crappy thing.
Yeah,
Anyways.
I mean, think about the people that you work with. Could you imagine walking into a job and sitting down and doing the job you've been doing, and none of the people that you work with are there anymore?
Hundreds of people that you used to work with and to be around you, and now it's you and a couple dozen others.
Yeah.
And you're sitting in a ghost town all of a sudden, trying to finish your work and do a good job of it because you want to release these products and you want to try and do a good job of it, but it's just a literal weight on you as you're in this empty room or empty place, and knowing that you're doing the work that nobody else is doing right now, and man,
I couldn't imagine doing it. Yeah, I couldn't imagine doing it.
Yeah, that's crazy, man.
So I don't know if you guys have seen this, but what was really cool to me was to see a lot of other gaming organizations post job listings.
I did. Yeah.
And so there's been a lot of places that are saying, hey, you guys that have been doing great work at Telltale, we really loved your games. Here are our job listings. Please come apply. We'd love to interview you. We'd love to give you a job. And I know, again, specifically, there are a lot of gaming organizations that are looking on a resume, I worked for Telltale Games, or here's my Telltale Games reference. And that's going to give you a leg up in the industry right now to say that I did work at Telltale Games. So at least there is like something at the end of this rainbow other than a big pile of crap.
Yeah. It's almost like
here.
watching them kind of pull together to help people in their industry, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I remember there texts that went out about that. We're always looking. I can't remember the studios, but there were a few studios that said, we're looking for people all the time. Feel free to apply, right? So, yeah. Wow.
So my question to you guys, like really what I'm wondering is, why do you think something like this happens? You know, Telltale Games, they were kind of unique and they had their own thing going on, and maybe they got too in over their head on the amount of IPs they were using or whatever else. Like, why do you think that a company has to close?
So here's the awesome part is like, actually right after the next part that I wanted to talk about, one of the questions I have is, so I'm gonna say it. So what the fuck happened?
Yeah.
Right? So why did a company that seemed to have it all just die? And this is actually based off on an article in Polygon. And I'll go back to the other one in a minute. But this article, I read through it, and it's kind of like, how did they put it? Well, basically, their article specifically talks about how they were unwilling to evolve, and that what led to their demise. So a lot of their success came from a specific formula, which did very well, and that was in The Walking Dead, right? The Walking Dead series. So what they ended up trying to do, or what this article specifically says, is what they ended up trying to do was, as they got new franchises on board, so Guardians of the Galaxy, The Wolf Among Us, and all that other stuff, they started to, Batman and so on, try to fit those into the same mold that made The Walking Dead a success. And by doing that, they didn't experiment or try something different or try something new, which ultimately they're saying is kind of what broke them. Aside from that, they also used a specific tool that they developed to make these games called Telltale Tool. So it's their own game engine. And over the years, that game engine started to show its faults, its cracks. Like it started to basically, there were all kinds of weird bugs, like people losing saves all along, or another thing is when they were switching scenes, sometimes there would be long gaps or long pauses between different scenes, which would break the momentum in the storytelling. So I'm just kind of like reading through little bits and pieces from this article, but this is one of the things that I found online where they were saying this could be one of the reasons why they ended up falling off, right? I don't know the real reason. Have you guys heard anything, or?
No, I haven't actually heard anything in that respect, because I've been trying to keep an ear to this because I wanted to find out,
like to me, I was thinking, what could have gone wrong? Because they had all those different franchises and the rights to them to be able to make games about them. And I'm going, this company's healthy, making all these games. Companies are signing up and saying, yeah, do it. Guardians of the Galaxy, yeah, do it. My story mode, yeah, do it. And now all of a sudden did they mismanage their people? Did they mismanage their money? I have it written in there somewhere. Was it hookers and blow? It's
to
just
be fair,
baffling.
that is a reason.
Oh, it could be a reason if the guys who are the head honchos just don't know what they're doing and don't know how to reinvest back into their own company. Like, come on. But I don't know. I can't sit here and criticize them, right?
But to be fair, one thing we've touched on it, and they have to pay licensing fees for things like, Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy. You have to pay a licensing fee for that. DC's Batman, not just Batman, but think of all the characters that they used in that. There are licensing, there's a licensing agreement that has to be in place for those.
Right. So it could be something as simple as they just didn't sell as well as they thought. They didn't make the money back that they needed to cover those costs.
Yeah,
I would think it's a combination of these two things. They get The Walking Dead, which was kind of new at the time, and it was a comic book series that's becoming a hit TV show on AMC. And at the time, AMC wasn't a really big network either.
Right.
And so it was kind of a small thing altogether. And then all of a sudden this becomes huge. And then they go to Wolf Among Us, and that's another big hit of them. And Wolf Among Us was another kind of obscure IP
comic?
based on Fables. Yeah, a comic called Fables.
Yeah.
And something that other people didn't know as well. And their two biggest early hits were some kind of obscure titles. And then they go out and they're like, okay, and then they get Borderlands, Game of Thrones, Batman, Guardians of the Galaxy. And I agree with you, Component. Like, I think that there's got to be a lot of licensing rights to use these big name people. And when you've got all of them and you're continually trying to make good games with them, and then combine that with they're not really evolving their play style and they're not changing much. And so I think there's a lot to be said for Twitch's and YouTube's role in this as well. Not direct role, but indirectly. The ability, all three of us have said already, I didn't play it, but I watched somebody else play it.
Yeah. Right, you're right.
So, and then all three of us didn't go out and buy that. We were perfectly happy to go and watch somebody else play it and watch them struggle and watch them, have the really great experience of this really great Telltale game. But we didn't give Telltale our money.
Yeah. Well, and
happy to watch it.
And why, along with that,
I feel like shit.
Along with it, there's some of the bigger groups. Was it Geek and Sundries? I think it was Geek and Sundry did ABXY, and they were doing like Telltale Game of Thrones on ABXY, and Geek and Sundry is not a small channel,
right?
So
and so it's all those people. Everybody who were to go and watch Geek and Sundry, the hundreds, if not thousands, of people, they're probably going to be perfectly happy just watching it. Yeah. Because Telltale's not one of those experiences where, if you're playing Kingdom Hearts 3 is going to be coming out soon, and so if you're going to be playing that, the mechanics of it, actually sitting there with a controller and getting that big flow of Sora playing, like I got to play it at E3, or not E3, sorry, at PAX this year, I got to play Kingdom Hearts 3, and it was incredible to be able to play this, and the gameplay is going to be great, and watching it is not going to be good enough. Yeah. I highly recommend everybody goes out there and plays this game. Yeah. It's going to be really good. Telltale games aren't like that.
Okay, so a game like what you're describing has more value in actually the act of playing it yourself, as opposed to a Telltale game, which is exactly what you mentioned at the very beginning of this show, and that is that it's all story.
Right. And again, value is not the word that I would use, because that's to say that the game that you play yourself is more valuable. I would say that balls. I mean, I guess literal value is there. Like, if you put it monetarily, then you have to say yes. You have to say monetarily, it's more worth my money to get a very good story and very good gameplay and very good interaction than only an incredible story. And then the other two things are kind of put off to the side. But I get an incredible story, top notch, but everything else kind of off to the side. So yeah, monetarily, yeah, I could see where that would be better than.
And it's funny you're mentioning all this because I in my mind, I'm thinking, did I not get it? And I actually recall that when I bought my Vita, I think it actually came with a free version of that game, The Walking Dead Telltale Series 1. And I have it, and I've watched Hamnisu play it as I alluded to earlier, but I still haven't played it on the Vita. I didn't play it. I just because it was like, well, I know what happens. There's no real reason for me to play it. I could play it because it's the kind of game that the story changes depending on the options and choices you make here. Further down, it may be different, but I was perfectly satisfied with knowing the story that I knew.
Yeah,
exactly.
But now, like, look at take a game like Fallout 4. Fallout 4 has a fairly, I don't want to say fairly straightforward story, but it has a story. But
mediocre is a good word to use.
But, you know, I've played it through probably 3 times. First of all, because there's actually more than one story in Fallout 4. Because you have each different ending, whether you're going to be Minuteman, Brotherhood of Steel, Institute, so on and so forth. But you find different stuff each time. Or your playstyle is different. A melee run versus a sniper run versus a pistols only run.
Right. I got you.
So watching somebody play that game is a lot different than physically playing it. Much to what Des was saying.
That's actually a really good point because as I think about it, you get a game that's specifically made to tell a story like Beyond Two Souls, or I guess more recently Detroit Become Human. All the those Quantic Dreams games, they're similar to Telltale in as much as they exist to tell a story. They do have some game mechanics and they do have some good controls, and they sort of balance that. But their real goal is to tell a really good story. But what Detroit Become Human does so well is at the end of each chapter, they give you this massive flow chart, and they show you, here's where you could have gone, here's where you could have gone, this is what you could have done. And then there's like 8 to 50 other slots that are, this is what you could have done. This is what you did. This is what you could have done.
Right.
And that really encourage you to be like, oh, I'm going to go back and play it. Or me, for somebody who didn't buy it, I've watched 3 different people play through Detroit Become Human, and I'm currently in the middle of, there's a streamer that I watch, Fries and Cries, that is playing it right now that I'm watching, and I'm watching it a 4th time. And even at the end of the day, if it goes down to $20 anytime soon, I'll probably buy it and play it myself. Because there's so much different opportunity and availability in a game like that. And Telltale, where they do have different ability and opportunity in those games, I'd say it's probably, a dozen different options if it's a pretty wide game,
I bought Detroit, by the way, but I haven't played it yet.
It's good, man. It's real good.
It's really good, yeah. I actually purposely don't watch streams because I want to play that. Whenever I play it, I just want to play it so that it's like the only thing I've seen. So it's, wow, really good discussion. There is one, and I don't have this written in here, but I do recall reading this somewhere online, and somebody was saying, or somebody was quoted from employees that ended up getting let go. They were saying that a lot of, and this could go along with part of the reason why in the end everything just fell apart, and that is they were finding that they were working and getting games out, and the more I might even have it written in there, but the more they were getting and trying to accomplish, they found that they were getting to crunch time and barely getting games out on time. And I don't know how true that is. I don't know who it was that I remember reading having quoted that, and I'm thinking to myself, looking at the type of games, like all the games and all these big names too, Game of Thrones, Tales from the Borderlands, Walking Dead, Law and Order, like all that stuff, I'm thinking to myself, maybe that's got some truth in there somewhere, right?
You know what? I'm the kind of person that when I see game delays, it's disappointing, but I'm fine with it. I understand.
Yeah, agreed.
I mean, again, we already talked about Kingdom Hearts 3. Let's take that. That took, what, like 15 years to come out after Kingdom Hearts 2. And you know what? I'm stoked about it, and I'm going to buy it, and I'm going to play it. I know there were so many delays, but I'm okay with it. I would prefer above-the-moon product, just this incredible, mind-blowing product that I waited 15 years for, than a really good product or a pretty good product that came out on time.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I agree with you to an extent. There is a caveat for me. What I don't like is when you get a game that's been delayed, finally releases, and it's broken.
No, there's a day one patch.
Yeah, you know, if you're doing day one patches because, you know, game files aren't loading correctly, or, you know, it's like, why didn't you just delay it one more time and fix this?
Right. And I guess that's kind of my point.
Sony? Guardian something Guardian? Last Guardian?
Last Guardian, yeah.
That was I don't know if that was broken, but that was years and years and years, and apparently it was a letdown.
Oh, guys. Oh, the things I have to say about Last Guardian.
Really? I actually look at it and think to myself, oh, it looks good. I'd like to get it. I didn't buy it, but tell me. Okay, not that it's related to Telltale, but still.
No, but it kind of is in a way of, I think Last Guardian and Team Ico are currently suffering right now for the same reasons that Telltale game probably did. And that's that when Ico came out and then Shadow of the Colossus came out, they were phenomenal. Yes. And people loved them, and they were so good. And then after that, there was this announcement of The Last Guardian. And then they gave you time, and then they delayed, and they gave you time, they delayed, and then a new console came out, and then they delayed, and then finally it releases for the PS4. And I went and I picked it up, and I played it on the channel, and it was very good. It was I take that back. It was good. It was a beautiful story. The way I described it on the channel is I said it's either the best bad game I've ever played or the worst good game I've ever played. The mechanics in it, specifically how you dealt with that baby griffin, were the worst. It's basically like trying to play a video game with an actual cat. You're trying to tell this thing like, okay, cool,
I know all about that.
Go over there. What are you doing? You freaking idiot animal! I will kill you! What are you doing? And like you're just so angry with this stupid griffin because it's not doing what you're doing, and to the point that I would literally try something for 10 minutes, try other things, it's not working, finally look it up online, and it's like, it's the first thing that you tried. Like, that very first thing that I tried, that's what I have to do, but the griffin didn't listen to me the first time. So I just have to go back and try it 3 or 4 more times until it finally does it. And the mechanics in it were so maddening, so frustrating, that it really took away from my experience of a very good story. Right. And I think that's probably similar to the suffering right now of Telltale games, where all of us know the moment that we sit down with a Telltale game, it's gonna have some really tough decisions. Yeah. You're gonna click on some guns maybe, or like some people or whatever. Like, you know what you're gonna get out of this pretty much. And so the story's gonna be good, it's gonna be beautiful, but if everything else isn't there, it's not going to be enough. It's not going to cut it for you.
Now, one of the things that I had picked up on, you were talking about the toolkit. They had talked
Telltale Tools.
Yeah, they had released some info that they were going to start switching over to Unity. Do you think Unity would have helped?
If they had done it earlier, probably. if they had done it earlier, because I mean, essentially, they, like I mentioned earlier, they were having games that were people would save and they'd lose their saves, freezes. This was, I think, more prevalent on the consoles, to be honest, but they never switched, they never changed, and it got to the point in one of the articles I was reading, it got to the point where fans knew that when they were getting into a Telltale game, they would be getting into a possibly broken, glitchy game, and probably even steer some fans away.
So I know some other games like that.
I know.
Assassin's Creed.
If they had made that switch like you're asking, nice. If
you saying there's something broken about a game where you talk to a pair of eyes and a mouth that are floating in midair?
I remember that. Maybe it could have made the difference. I don't know, to be totally honest, but I think it could have.
I agree. There were many times that Fox and I played, because I played the Batman series episodes 1 and 2, or sorry, seasons 1 and 2 of the Batman game.
Yeah.
Then Fox and I played season 1 of Walking Dead. But there were times that you'd see somebody talking and there just wouldn't be the other character there. Or somebody would like go to pick something up, but that object would be, you could tell they're holding something and talking to it, but it just wouldn't be there. And immediately your suspension of disbelief is gone. And especially when the one thing you want your game to do is to tell a good story, you have to have your suspension of disbelief. If anything pulls you out of that story, you've failed. You're going to fall so hard from just that little teeny tiny thing. So switching to Unity or trying something, having more QA, trying something to guarantee that your game doesn't have these bugs, I think would have really helped them.
Yeah. So I want to continue on with a couple more things. I'm going to backtrack just a little here. So now the questions become, and this is something that a ton of people have been asking online, and that is, what do they do about the games, their projects, the stuff that they already have on the go, things that people were anticipating, for example, the series Wolf Among Us 2 and Stranger Things apparently is another one, are presumed canceled. So we're not even sure, but they're presumed as canceled series. Apparently the skeleton crew that was left behind were held back to finish things such as Minecraft Story Mode, which was being produced for Netflix. A lot of timelines have been thrown off. One of the not announcements, but statements made by Telltale for the Walking Dead series was, and I'll read, this is a quote, while episode 2 would come out as planned, it was also looking at potential partners, to help release episode 3 and 4 in some form. So we might not even get something that's from them. I don't know how that would work. They'd have to get potential partners, like pay some other company to finish it. I don't know how to read into that. And this actually brought like a bunch of people online were like, oh my God, what is this? What are they doing? Forget it, leave it, don't ruin it. Some people were saying that the current episode, that the way it ends, if they end it, it'll end on a high note, which is good. Leave it, right? So I haven't seen the current one, so I don't want anyone to ruin it.
I think that, so if you take something like Tolkien had a lot of what were called the unfinished tales, and his son came in and finished a lot of these, and then they released this book called The Unfinished Tales that were finished by his son. And it was kind of like this homage and this honorific thing where they're saying, hey, we have the beginnings of so many stories that somebody worked so hard on. We have the beginnings of something that people put so much effort into. Let's just finish it so that the work that this person put in,
right,
even if they didn't finish it, the work that they put in is there. And I think that should be the way that Telltale is thinking about this right now, where there's probably half an episode or half a season or whatever it is that so many people put so much dedication to and so much heart into. And I mean, they obviously can't finish everything. There's going to be a lot that just dies, but some of that should get released. Some of that should come out.
It should have some sort of closure.
Absolutely, yes.
Funny you were talking about the book. they're doing the same thing with Tom Clancy. He was in the middle. He was in the process of writing a book when he passed away, and there is a group of about 10 people that are volunteering their time to finish the book.
Wow.
So we'll actually be it'll be a Tom Clancy book that's actually written by like 10 different people.
Okay, I'm going to break the momentum here a little bit and
Yeah.
say that I had no idea that Tom Clancy was dead. He died in 2013, apparently. I just looked it up. R.I.P. Tom Clancy.
Yeah.
Rest in peace, my friend.
Yeah, I'm actually watching the Tom Clancy series on Netflix. Not Netflix, on Amazon Prime right now.
Jack Ryan.
It's actually pretty good. Yeah.
So Fox is asking, people people remake entire games in new engines. Why not outsource the rest of current unfinished projects to carefully chosen fans? Interesting. So what do you guys think about that? The idea of outsourcing the completion of these projects to let fans finish it, of all people.
Almost like making it public domain.
Not public domain. You choose the fans and you
Right.
choose the people. Like, you'd be really, really careful about it. But I think that would be a really interesting, if not dangerous, idea. But one that would complete a lot of what they want. It would finish what they need to do.
They definitely get any of the series that are left in limbo right now to completion. That's for sure. But I agree with the term you used a moment ago, dangerous, because you never know. I mean, they would have to have some sort of quality control that makes sure that the vision of that particular story stays where it should be, because now you're giving it to someone else, right? Kind of.
I mean, before you even make a game, though, don't you think they've probably written the entire story?
Yeah, for sure.
Well, you're passing the story on to somebody and saying,
finish it.
You make the game for this, though. That you mod it. I mean, if you take a look at some of the mods, again, Fox says Skyrim and Oblivion. If you take some of the Elder Scroll mods, the type of dedication that people put into these games so you could have sex, like the type of dedication that people put into these games for such random reasons, so you could have a lightsaber, so you could have the Force or whatever, so you could play as Sonic. Why not outsource this to a fan and say the same dedication that you put into using the Force in Oblivion, can you put that kind of dedication into finishing this? You know what? I'm saying, I was about to say this Guardians of the Galaxy game, but immediately right there, I'm guessing that their license has run out for Guardians of the Galaxy, and they couldn't give it to a fan. So take that, Fox. They can't give it to a fan.
Fox.
Just to add a little, I don't want to say insult to injury here, but in the last year, at least according to PC Gamer, in the last year, we've lost more than 10 major game studios. Capcom Vancouver, which are the developers of the Dead Rising series. Visceral Games.
Yeah, Visceral, wow.
Which was responsible for Dead Space, and they were working on a Star Wars open world game.
Yep.
1313, right?
Yeah.
Yes. If I'm not mistaken, you are correct. It's 1313.
Yeah.
But actually, hey, Fox, I like the Dead Rising games. Dead Rising was
died
great.
A long time ago anyway, ironically, says Fox Online.
Well, let's leave Dead Rising alone. That was painful.
I had a mixed feelings for that game. I like the mindless just killing, but after a while I was like that.
I like the weird combination stuff that you can make in that game too.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like you said, it's a great game for like if you're just looking for some mindless run around and take stuff out wave games. That's a great one. But
So-
yeah, we like I said, we've lost quite a few. Lost quite a few in the last year. So
Yeah, and it's rough. And I think a lot of it comes from, if you take a look just financially, video games have actually been the most money-making medium in art right now. Well, so if you take like TV show, movies, books, whatever else, video games make the most money. And it's kind of causing this bit of like a devil-may-care attitude in a lot of developers trying to make these really big projects and pouring hundreds of millions of dollars into projects. And being aware of that and being in, again, a middling company like Telltale, it just allows for you to take chances. And I think a lot of companies take these chances and have these really aspiring goals, and then they come out with a game that just flops.
Yeah.
And it can hurt so bad. And especially for indie companies like Telltale, you don't have the publisher to back you. You don't have EA to come in. You don't have Nintendo to come in or Sony to come in and say, it's okay that you failed that time, guys. We're still gonna finance your next project. You're stuck with your own bill, and you're stuck.
Quantum Break, anyone? What?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I joke about it, but Quantum Break,
Quantum Break?
It had a great premise.
I have that game somewhere over here, but I haven't played it yet. I have so many in a pile that are just wrapped.
Well, I hate to talk about this while you're on
It's okay.
while you're listening, but Quantum Break was a great looking game. I mean, it was beautifully done.
Yeah.
But
You're talking as if something went wrong.
the game.
Ah.
It was a beautifully done game. Great concept. Absolutely. Yeah, more like Quantum Broken.
This Quantum Broken. This makes me want to play it even more.
Well, it's more like it's kind of a combination of Quantum Broken and Quantum Netflix. Because while the mixed media was a great concept, the 20-30 minute long episodes, not really.
Oh, that's right. It has like a full video live footage type thing in it.
Yeah. Yeah, we're going back to the 90s with full motion video.
All the FMV stuff, man.
Yeah. Wow. I forgot about that. Mind you, I know we're kind of off topic a little bit, but there's an awesome game called Night Shift, and it's full motion video, and it's great. It's kind of like a Telltale game where you point and click and choose your adventure, but it's fun, and it was awesome when I first played it because to me it felt like I was watching a movie and being part of it. So there is good in there, I think.
Wait. The demo of The Quiet Man. Are we talking about, like, The Quiet Man, which was the John Wayne movie?
Oh, I don't know about that. Okay, so Fox says, yeah, the whole live-action video game thing doesn't just seem to work. The demo of The Quiet Man we played at PAX is the same. It's just weird. So The Quiet Man was one of Sony's, like, premier games that they showed at E3 during their presentation at E3, and Fox and I got to play a demo of it at PAX. And guys, I'm gonna tell you, it's bad. It's real bad. Like confusingly and nearly embarrassingly bad.
Oh wow. Okay.
It's if you were to take the most basic combat system that you could possibly come up with, and just mashing a button, and then have that come in between FMV scenes, like full motion video scenes.
Right.
Just have those two things one after the other. Just FMV, but the FMV has no audio because you're deaf. Oh. And so your character is deaf, so there's no subtitles either. So for whatever reason, you just don't know what's going on. And so imagine playing basically on mute you're mashing one button or two buttons and then watching like a 10-minute cutscene on mute. That was all of it.
That's not awkward in any way, shape, or form at all, is it?
Yeah.
But okay.
So again, and to kind of bring us back to the original topic here, it's dangerous to innovate sometimes. When you try something like this with A Quiet Man and it fails so miserably, it's dangerous sometimes. And The Quiet Man hasn't come out yet. For all we know, it's going to change completely and it's going to be much better, but the demo was bad. But Telltale didn't innovate at all. And it's just as dangerous to not innovate as it is to innovate. And so, I mean, they did little things, like in Batman, there was a detective scenes here and there and things like that. But for the most part, it was always the same thing. And if it's just as dangerous to not innovate as it is to innovate in extreme ways. You got to dance that middle ground, and I feel like Telltale didn't do that.
Right.
I can agree with that statement.
It's just sad. That's all. Like, and I'm looking at it mostly, and I'm going to be honest here. I'm looking at it mostly from a point of view of a person who likes their games and wants to see some of the games continue. Maybe even one day I would have bought one of their games. I don't know. But then again, there's the other side of it, and that is the people who lost their jobs. And who should I really feel bad about, you know? Like,
well, I mean, you got to take both those things together, though, because remember, and something that Fox and I always try to emphasize is that video games are art. It's an artistic forum, and the creators of this aren't making it for funsies. They're not making it for money. They're making it so you and I can watch it and experience it and enjoy it. Now, ideally, we pay money and experience it and enjoy it, but if we don't, they're probably, 70% as happy if we just watch it and really enjoy it. So
right.
I think we have every right as a consumer. Again, all three of us have said we've watched Telltale games but never played them.
Yep.
I think they're happy to say, you know what, we're happy that you guys watched the game and enjoyed it. We really are, because it is an artistic medium and we experienced their art and we loved it. And so it sucks that we as people aren't going to get to experience the finished product of their art.
Fox brings up a good point. He was perfectly fine with them doing the same thing. It's kind of like Traveler's Tales, making the same Lego games over and over with different properties. I got what I wanted and I loved it every time.
Interesting.
But even with, and I am a big fan of the Lego games, with the exception of certain products, but that's only because I don't like the actual brand. But even them, they still innovate to some degree. Remember, Batman 2 was the first Lego game that had voice acting.
Voices. Yeah.
Right, yeah.
They add some different powers in different, I think Lego Batman 2 was also the first one that had the green bricks. The clear green bricks. You had to be Green Lantern to work with.
Well, and not to mention just that these brought other things as well. Not only was there a goofy story and it was comedic and you laughed, but it was also that that there was great mechanics. You had a really good gameplay. And like I remember, my wife and I, we 100%ed. We platinumed Lego Indiana Jones. My wife and I co-opted that together, and it was so much fun. We jumped over to Lego Harry Potter, and they didn't have the shadows underneath the characters like they did in Lego Indiana Jones, and that made the platforming really, really hard. And my wife didn't like that, and so we didn't finish that one. And so it's just one of those things where you can say, hey, part of the mechanics and the gameplay in this struggled as well. And the IP was a part of it. Like, the Lego games are a much more complete game than what Telltale are delivering. Telltale were delivering a story from an IP.
Right.
The mechanics weren't that big of a deal. The controls weren't that big of a deal.
Clunky is a good word to describe them, yeah.
It all came down to this story. And if that story wasn't perfect, or if anything else on the side wasn't perfect, then it's just not going to work. It's just not going to work.
You are absolutely correct on that.
All right.
And Fox, you are right.
Okay.
Marvel superheroes did have a great open world feel. Yeah, and again, you don't care about the source material. When I said I don't, there are certain Lego games I don't have. I don't have the Hobbit or the brain just went completely out of Lord of the Rings series. I'm not a big fan of the material.
Right, but I know people who are just fans of the Lego games and bought those games because they like Lego games. It's not a big deal that they're not a fan of Lord of the Rings. They love Lego games, and so they bought the Lego games. You're never going to do that with Telltale. Telltale is, you have to enjoy, I mean, I guess, I'm not going to say never, but the vast majority of the time, you buy Telltale games because you're excited about the IP. I mean, that's why I bought the Batman games. I am a giant Batman fan. I am a very large person, and I love Batman. I'm a giant Batman fan. No, I really enjoy the Batman genre, and so the moment Telltale said, we're coming out with Telltale Batman, I gave them my money right away. Everything else that they put out, I like. It was pretty cool, but I'm not, the IP itself wasn't that important to me. So instead of giving them my money, I just watched it on YouTube.
Just so you know, Lego DC Villains comes out shortly.
I will be purchasing that very much. Probably to play it with my wife or with my children or both.
But just so you know, it does come out soon. I think it's October the 14th, but don't quote me on that.
Nice, very soon. Cool.
Yeah, I think I'm fairly certain it comes out this month.
So that brings us to, I think it's been an hour roughly.
Well, pretty close.
So, yeah, so
I've got 1 hour 2 minutes.
yeah, that's good. It's all good. So that's awesome. Thanks, guys, for your inputs. But obviously, this was a huge thing in the news. It was actually something that was super shocking. When people were talking about this, other news outlets were reporting this, they were all like, I can't believe it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, crazy.
Pour one out for the homies. I'm not going to pour wine on my chair.
All right. So before we end it off, I want to have Dez. Tell us about himself. Tell us what's coming up with Dez and Fox Plays and so on. What do you guys, what's coming up for you guys?
Well, not coming up, but just finished about a month ago. Fox and I went to PAX, and we posted several dozen
videos. Yes,
yeah, several dozen videos of cosplay interviews with developers, gameplay demos, all kinds of things like that. If you want to see Soul Calibur 6, if you want to see Kingdom Hearts 3, if you want to see Devil May Cry 5, all kinds of really great games, you can head over to our channel and check out our PAX 2018 playlist. We've got all of this stuff that we played at PAX, and it was amazing. As well as we've got a weekly podcast called The Nerdy Gritty, where much like Defective Discourse, we just take some pop culture topics and we chat about what that means for us. We just recently talked about Magic the Gathering pro player who boycotted the Pro Tour, and with that impact, how should gaming organizations like Wizards of the Coast or Blizzard now with Overwatch League, how should they treat their professionals? And a lot of different things like that. So we talk a lot. It's mostly Let's Play, but we talk a lot about the nerd culture in general. So if you're interested in that, come check out our channel, Des and Fox Play on YouTube.
That's awesome. Guys, go check them out. They're really, really good. Component, anything going on with you, bud?
Actually, I've been back to streaming. You can find me at twitch.tv/component_Z. What about you? What have you been doing? Because you've been kind of in the dark lately.
Fox wants me to talk about what we're doing right now. So
okay,
currently we're playing Kingdom Hearts 2, Spider-Man, Dragon Quest 11, Tomb Raider, an indie game called Coffence. That's in early play mode. It's a fighting game based on coffee. It's hilarious and so much fun. And then for #Spooky October, we're playing a game called Darkwood. And it's going to be a lot of fun. So
it's all be on your YouTube channel, right?
Yeah, so it's all on YouTube. So come check it out. Guys.
What's your feelings on Dragon Quest XI?
Oh, he's playing it. That's why he's asking you.
Fox is playing Dragon Quest XI right now. I am not, but I am watching Fox's playthrough of Dragon Quest XI, and I love it. But all I have to say is Puff Puff is super weird. What the crap is going on with Puff Puff?
Well, the thing about it is, Puff Puff has actually been a part of the Dragon Quest since the first one.
Me about this.
This is actually the first one that's I think this is the first time it's actually made it to an American version, but it is a thing.
So, Kirok, if you don't know what Puff Puff is,
no, I don't know.
There are women that are scantily clad, that are wearing revealing clothing, that will be standing in the street, and you can walk up to them and they'll say, "Hi, do you want Puff Puff? I can provide Puff Puff for you." And the one time that Fox does this on the channel, on episode 12, he pays for it, and then it says, main character awkwardly leaves his friends behind. The girl leads him into a house, leads him up the stairs to a bed. Then it goes black, and then she's like, "Ooh, should I turn the lights off? Ooh, that tickles. Puff, 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 puff." And then it says like, "Hurt, hurt." And then the lights come back on, and there's this huge hulking guy there, like a man. There's just all muscles everywhere. And she's like, "This is my dad. He's like an ancient Puff Puff guy, and he's the best there is." And you don't know what just happened. All you know is that a man just Puff Puffed you, and what the crap is Puff Puff? I don't know.
Welcome to Dragon Quest.
Play that. I might actually be totally content watching it on Twitch.
We've tried streaming a few times, and Fox actually streamed the entire God of War game.
Nice.
And but streaming is something that we really want to get into. We don't do it on a regular basis right now. We've tried to set up a Friday morning for us, so it'd be on Pacific time at 9 a.m., but that's not consistent right now, so don't take my word for it.
Okay, all right. I can't wait to see it when it happens, though. As for myself, I've been dark. You're right, Component Z. I haven't streamed since the beginning of September. A bunch of things going on, things happening, family, and so on and so on. And then I was also vacation, and then I injured myself. All kinds of stuff. I'm all good now, though. But I am prepping. I am going to come back. It may be in a week. It may be in two, because today, as of this recording, was my father's birthday. On Friday is my birthday, so I'm planning a big party on the weekend, kind of thing.
Turning 29, guys.
Yes, absolutely. But I will be coming back to streaming, and I'm going to be changing up some of the stream notifications and stuff like that. I think you guys will get a kick out of that. I'm going to customize them to games. So if I'm playing, say, Mafia 3, anytime somebody donates bits or whatever, Mafia 3 stuff will come up, and Mafia 3 sounds will come up. So it'll be really customized, really cool looking. But that's about it for now. And my Mafia series is continuing on Twitch, and it's not going to stop. It's just, sorry, not Twitch, I meant YouTube, and it's not going to stop, so you guys can see it there. And that's pretty much it.
I've never played the Mafia games. Is it good?
The Mafia 3 game is fun. It's broken, but it's fun.
I'll check it out on your channel.
Yeah,
I'll go watch it.
So that pretty much puts us at the end, guys. As you know, those of you who are here on Twitch watching us, you're watching it on the Twitch Bottle Rocket Gaming channel. You can also go to the Bottle Rocket Gaming website if you want to check out the website. It's bottlerocketgaming.com. Aside from that, there is a YouTube channel as well. So if you do a YouTube search for Bottle Rocket Gaming, you'll find our YouTube channel. And in fact, this episode that we're recording live on Twitch will air there in a couple of days' time, and you'll be able to pick it up if you missed it here live. So Twitch is awesome too, because we have a bunch of people who are in the community who every so often donate some of their time and stream games on the Bottle Rocket Gaming channel. So check it out. It's not just this show, this Defective Discourse that happens once a month. It's also other members in Bottle Rocket that will be playing games, and you can get a chance to know them or watch them, even interact with them and chat. It's really cool. I watched a few of them. And lastly, if anything, you guys can always donate and support us at our Patreon. It's patreon.com/BottleRocketGaming. So there you can check out a bunch of different tiers. And
upstairs,
there's different...
mommy upstairs. You're on the internet. I don't want you to be on the internet. Put mommy upstairs.
You unmuted.
Yeah. So yeah, check it out, guys. You can go there, and if you feel moved to support Bottle Rocket Gaming, you can do it in a number of different ways, all listed there on the actual Patreon website. But again, thank you everybody for joining us. You in the chat, thank you CZ, thank you Dez, thank you Fox. Fox was in the chat. He kind of made an appearance. Thank you all, and we will see you again in 1 month's time. First Tuesday of November. October, November? Yeah.
Yeah, November.
I know my alphabet. All right. Bye, guys.
Alphabet?
Don't forget to support us on Patreon. Also follow us on Twitter. Thank you for watching and good night. Cheerio.